Entering the Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog Fantasy. We're talking Wells Fargo Championship research. The picks will break down the field and the course. It's an elevated event this week, which means that there is an alternate tournament going on at the same time. The first ever Myrtle Beach Classic. That one is full field, 132 players with a cut, and it's very reminiscent of what we've seen at Corrales or Puerto Rico. Similar fields on the go in Myrtle Beach this year, but it's the first time that we've actually seen the course played on the PGA Tour. So we'll do a brief deep dive at the end on that. If you want to just jump to that, which would be really strange considering there's a really good field, and it's the first time that we've had one of these big events in a while without Scotty Scheffler. I guess he's not playing. I guess he's having the baby soon, so he's deciding to take this week off. I assume he'll be back a week from now at the PGA Championship, but that's what we're dealing with in terms of the field. And all of the guys that you would expect to be playing are playing. So Victor's playing despite an injury. Will Zalatoris is playing despite an injury. He had pulled out this week at the CJ Cup. Ditto for Sungjae, who pulled out with an illness right before tee-off, screwing 13% of the field on DraftKings this week. He will be playing at Quail Hollow as well. So that's what we're dealing with for the field itself. I think it's going to be 68 players. We'll see if that amends itself on Monday if a few more people get into the field. I don't think that's going to be the case, though. And there's no cut at this event, which sucks. There's only a few of the events that actually have a cut. Bay Hill, Genesis, and Memorial, which will be upcoming in about 4 weeks from now, have a cut as a signature event. The other non-affiliated with a player, so you have Tigers Tournament for the Genesis, Arnold Palmer for Bay Hill, and Jack for Memorial. They all have cut lines for them. The other signature events do not. So this one, Heritage didn't, Travelers will not, Pebble Beach did not. So keep an eye out on that, just in case you were wondering if it's going to be top 50 in ties like it is for them. It is not this week. Everyone is going to get all 4 rounds of play. So let's jump over to the course. You probably remember Quail Hollow because it's been the Wells Fargo Championship played at this course every year since 2003, outside of 2017 when it hosted the PGA Championship, and 2022 when it hosted the President's Cup, where they went to an alt location. I think it was Eagles Point in 2017 and TPC Potomac in 2022. No, maybe it wasn't Potomac. Maybe it was like it doesn't matter. We're not talking about that course. Doesn't matter at all. It's a championship level course. It's just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, hence why the 2017 PGA Championship, we got all those TNT promos with Ric Flair just being like, woo, the entire time. Too bad Siwoo didn't win that week. It would have been fantastic. Tom Fazio redesigned this in 1997. Then he did it again prior to the 2017 PGA Championship. It's known for its challenging layout, tree-lined fairways, numerous water hazards, and strategically placed bunkers that require precision shot making from players. The signature hole is the par 3 17th, which requires a tee shot over a large pond protected by bunkers on either side. And when you bet against Jason Day and he ends up chipping it in from beyond that bunker, hitting the flagstick. I don't think it actually went in. I think he hit the flagstick and it stopped next to the hole so he could go tap in for par in 2018. Just sometimes that's some of the luck that you encounter. It's 7,559 yards as a par 71. Poa Trivial is overseed. All of the base turf is championship Bermuda grass. The average green size is 6,500 yards. 61 bunkers on the course, 7 holes with water in play. And golfers need to be precise off the tee to avoid the thick rough and the strategically placed bunkers that line the narrow fairways at Quail Hollow. Distance has proven to be more important than accuracy, but some combination of the two obviously trumps all. But you'll see a generic bomber pop up out of nowhere here. Like I remember hitting Andrew Riviere-Dalou, first round leader here. Derek Ernst won here. Luke List has been pretty good at this course in some years when the putter doesn't absolutely abandon him. That should alone show you how much driving distance matters. It's not the only path. You'll see a scatter shot of shorter to average length players that still gain a bunch off the tee. So we've seen Molinari play well here. Answer came second to Rory one year. Rory's won here 3 times. If you didn't know, Joel Damon was another one that was able to do that. So it's not impossible for the shorter hitters to compete, But with over 50% of approaches coming from beyond 175 yards, 31% from over 200 yards, the extra distance off the tee is just going to make these approach shots much, much easier. And there's also a weird crossover between Quail Hollow with Riviera and Torrey Pines, despite being on the opposite coast. Each of them feature fast, unique green complexes, and each requires a ton of distance to cut down the course. For the past decade, Homa, JB Holmes, and James Hahn have won at both courses. Day and Homa have both won at Torrey Pines. And the final 3-hole stretch is dubbed the Green Mile, and it is the most difficult finishing stretch on the regular PGA Tour's course rotation. Since 2003, there have been over 1,700 water balls across these 3 holes. Collectively, they played almost a stroke over par average in that time span. And overall at the course as a whole, there have been over 1,800 water balls at Quail Hollow since 2003. I'm trying to think about what the most famous one would be. Probably Rory dunking it into that little creek to the left of the 18th fairway and then deciding, was that in the water or was that just an unplayable? I guess that wouldn't be famous because it was just an unplayable ball that was like kind of nestled up in the hazard area near the creek, and he decided to take the drop anyway. Cost himself the stroke because he was up by 2, put it on the green, 2-putted for bogey, and that was good enough to beat Abraham Answer in 2021 was the year that happened. Let's jump over to fantasynational.com right now, fantasynational.com/Mayo. In order to get yourself the 20% off, you'll get, and listen, the PGA Championship is coming up. We work in conjunction with the PGA of America for this at Fantasy National. So you're going to end up, I guess the deal that you want to get is probably going to be, you could do the monthly next Wednesday, and I think that brings you through the U.S. Opens. That's probably the best one. So you get 20% off the monthly, and you get as an add-on, you get the app to go along with it, and all the new Pick'em tools as well. There's just all the different tools up at top. You can see the over-under. That is what we've done for any of the Pick'em sites. Especially Underdog, if you want to go manually punch in a player, a number. They don't have an API, so you do have to manually go do it for yourself. But if you use code Mayo at Underdog Fantasy, you'll get a deposit match of up to $100, and you can use some of these tools at Fantasy National in order to try to rake in the money. Is the newsletter Pick 'em Play was a winner again for this week. That is 4 in a row we've hit in the newsletter as the official play on Wednesday evening. You can sub to the newsletter for free as well. Taking a look at the course, Quail Hollow, as I mentioned, it's a very long course. To reiterate, it's just under 7,600 yards. Nothing's going to come easy. You can see 1, 2, and 3. 18 is the toughest hole on the course, 17 is the second toughest, and 16 is the fourth toughest. Fortunately, 14 and 15, the 2 easiest holes on the course. The par 5, number 15 is 577 yards, has almost a 2% eagle rate, and then 14 is a potentially drivable 344-yard par 4, which has a birdie rate of over 35%, an eagle rate of 1%. If we just kind of divvy this up a little bit by par 3s, par 4s, and par 5s, the average par 3 is gonna be 207 yards this week, and they're all pretty tough, except for number 4. Number 4 is 184 yards, birdie rate of almost 13%. That's calling it is the 5th easiest hole on the course, yet still plays over par because it has a 16% bogey rate to a 13.7% birdie rate. Hole 17 can be a deal breaker. It's the second toughest hole on the course. Owner of almost a 9% bogey rate, which is, sorry, that's incorrect. Where are we at here? Yeah, it has a 17% bogey rate, and an 8% double or worse rate. So this can take you out of the tournament. And for the love of God, do not start victory lapping anyone coming down the stretch, because the Green Mile can absolutely eat them up. You just cross your fingers, hope it goes well, and that they don't find themselves in the water on one of these holes and just make an absurd number. So almost a 17% bogey rate. The number 6 is the par 3. That is the second toughest of the par 3s. Although it doesn't have the massive double rate, it does have a 23% bogey rate to only 7% birdie rate. It is the 6th toughest hole on the course. Wyndham Clark won last season and played number 17 at 1 under. He played the par 3s at 2 under over the course of the weekend. I mean, that is going to get it done. That's how you end up winning by so much over Xander Schauffele a year ago. A breakthrough for Wyndham Clark. It's funny to think about how we perceive Wyndham Clark at this point, but this was the site of his breakthrough win at a signature event at a big boy course, and then he would go on to win the U.S. Open, and then again at a historic Pebble Beach course, even though it was only 54 holes. We'll call it like a half win, a live win, if that's something that you want to go with, earlier this season. Then just started coming second place to Scotty Scheffler every single week when Scotty went on his tear. The par 4s, the average distance is 456 yards. 3 of the 4 toughest holes on the property are par 4s, and they're all on the back 9, with an over par rate more than triple the birdie rate. So you can see it right here. Number 18, as I mentioned, is the toughest hole on the course, a bogey rate of almost 30%, which is just asinine. Number 16, the 4th toughest hole on the course, a bogey rate of almost 24%. And then you have number 11, a bogey rate of over 26%, and a birdie rate of only 7%. So those are the 3 toughest holes, 11, 16, and 18 at the course. The par 5s are 3 of the 4 easiest on the course. You only have one. That's number 7, 546 yards with an eagle rate of almost 4%. That's the one that you're going to get. Although there is a 10, almost 11% bogey rate and a 3% bogey or worse rate. So it can go sideways. It's put it this way. It's like a 50-50 percentage you're going to birdie the hole, but there's a chance you make a real crooked number where that's not really in play at the other par 5s. Number 10, double or worse rate less than 1%. Even number 15, double or worse rate less than 1%. This is number 17 has the second highest birdie percentage of any hole on the course. It has the highest eagle rate, but things can go sideways if you find yourself in some of the trouble. Wyndham Clark birdied the 2 5s on the back 9 Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And when you're playing the par 3s as well as he did, then it's going to be a pretty easy victory for you as long as the putter comes along for the ride. Let's take a look at how the top 5 finishers have done at this course and how their strokes gained is separated. You can see that off the tee is very close. Approach and putting, except for at Craig Ranch last week, where it was almost a flat distribution between driving, approach, and putting. But you can see that it's very close versus a lot of other courses where it's, 0.7 strokes per round off the tee, 1.12 on approach. So, it's around 40% more, but sometimes you'll see approach 3 times, 4 times what off the tee is. Got to bring your putter along with you. And this has been a course over the years where there has been a breakthrough spot, and we've seen that time and time again. Not so much recently, but this is where Rory got his first win. This is where Ricky got his first win. It is where Wyndham Clark just got his first win. So, going back through time, we've seen that a lot. The average shot distribution, it's weird because on paper, although the course, I guess Wyndham Clark won at -19 last year. It's not like this is the world's hardest course. Guys, if they run a hot putter and play great, can take it apart, especially if you make the eagles on the par 5s and don't give them all away on the par 3s. But the way that the average shot distribution and the way that the strokes gained numbers actually play out are very reminiscent to what we saw at Craig Ranch this week, which is kind of funny because you have over a majority of approach shots are going to come from beyond 175 yards this week. Very few short wedges into the green. I guess that's where it kind of passes Craig Ranch, where there were a few of those, because there was a few of those par 4s where some of them you can get to. Other ones you have to leave yourself in that 30 to 40 yard range to go through. But very few shots realistically between 100 and 150 yards. 20% from 150 to 175, 23% 175 to 200, 31% of shots coming from over 200 yards. The cut line a year ago was at even. Before that, it was 3, but you have to worry about that this year because there is no cut. Driving accuracy way down. That's how you get the shorter hitters into play at this course, is going to be through driving accuracy, because half the time. So that's something in the pick'em game that we're probably going to try to leverage this week and take a look at driving accuracy, higher or lower on Underdog Fantasy number of fairways hit, and hopefully we can try to find someone, and maybe I'll try to do that more research for, and that's what I've been doing in the Wednesday newsletters, to really put a ton of research into that pick'em play for Thursday morning or Thursday afternoon, just a Thursday slate of picks that you can go through. Kenny and Byron will have their underdog slip as well on the Monday night show on Fantasy Golf Degenerates. I believe that's hit every week since Byron joined the show, so I recommend that you tune into that, even if it's just a tail. The Pick'em entry, again, you can get the match deposit of up to $100 with code Mayo at Underdog Fantasy. The link is down in the description. If you want to support the show, you can go do that, just like you can smash the like and sub to the channel and share the show around and leave a rating and review on the audio podcast. All of that stuff goes such a long way to helping the show, but honest to God, if you could deposit on Underdog Fantasy using code Mayo, that is the single greatest thing you could do for the show in order to help. Scrambling's gonna come into play, but scrambling percentage is, frankly, a little bit lower here because the green and regulation percentage, only 62%, slightly lower than tour average, but the driving accuracy, 54% versus 62% on your regular. Big greens mean 3-putt average is going to be a little bit higher. The average driving distance is over 300 yards at this course, where the average tour event is only 283. There's not a lot of forced layups here. Just grip it and rip it. Maybe it's tough because I was thinking about Jake Knapp. And I feel like such a goober he was one of the final cuts from my list. When I did the research show last week, Knapp kept coming up. When I wrote the newsletter on Wednesday evening, I even saw the crossover with PGA National, and that really surprised me. But Knapp was the one who came out near the top of that list as well, of players in the field. And listen, I'm recording this before the conclusion of the tournament, even the start of the fourth round, and Knapp's likely not... I don't even think he's done his Saturday round yet as I'm recording this, and he's not winning. Pendrith is winning at the moment, but you see him up there, and one of the main things is, he played really well at Torrey Pines. That had a correlation to Mexico, and it's one of these courses where if the rough isn't going to be up as much as it's been in the past, and it did seem like they shaved it down a little bit a year ago, that if you can just go full hog with your driver here and not worry about hitting the fairway, those seem to be Jake Knapp courses. When you get to Bay Hill and there's water everywhere and he starts spraying it around, then he's going to be 58 over par. But ones where you can just dial in with your driver and hit it as far as you want, those seem to be the Jake Knapp courses. So I'm very interested in what he is going to be up to this week, as I believe he's in the field. And it's going to be a fun week betting without Scotty around. When we get to guess the odds, you have to kind of remind yourself going back through time about how he is going to be playing. Let's take a look at the field this week for Quail Hollow. Again, it's only 68 players, sorry. Woodland and Dunlap over the past 24 rounds come in with the fewest amount of strokes gained. Nick Dunlap has actually performed really well. He's becoming the new Matt Wallace, where if they're playing in weak field events, then they're actually going to be pretty good. The moment you put them in a strong field event, they absolutely suck. But I do actually want to harken back and take a look at what people have done at this tournament in the past. I mean, I do that every single week. I don't know why I wouldn't do it right now. Almost skipped it on you here. So if we take a look back at last year, Windy C ends up winning this tournament at 19 under par, beating Xander, who I believe was at 16. Harris English tied for third. Fleetwood, Connors, Homa, Sung Jae Im, McCarthy, and Todd. So a lot of the shorter hitters, McCarthy and Todd, popping up here. And then Ricky Fowler, Gary Woodland, Seamus Power. So not your classic bombers. I don't know if that's going to be something that changes over time, but just frankly, it was surprising to see some of these guys still around. Here's how Wyndham Clark did it. Gained 9 strokes on approach and 7.5 putting. Didn't lose around the green, just marginal. Basically, the entire bar graph that we saw about what to do at this tournament is exactly what Wyndham Clark did a year ago and was pretty untouchable from that regard. You can see everyone else almost tee to green perfect across the board. Harris English was the only player inside the top 10, realistically, who lost strokes anywhere in the 4 major categories. So a balanced game from tee to green is going to be necessary. Plus distance is a plus for you, but not absolutely necessary from what we have seen at this course. Harris English lost 2.2 strokes off the tee, and that is the only red that you see on the screen of anyone from Corey Connors and up. Connors even gained on the greens last year, albeit a little bit marginally. It'd be nice if Corey Connors could gain a few strokes going forward. That would be very nice. Wyndham Clark shot a 63 on Saturday. That was the round of the tournament, and he was the only golfer to card 68 or better in all 4 rounds. 5 of the top 7 putters in the field all finished inside the top 8. All 7 of them finished inside the top 25. So you can see Corey Connors, it has not been a good go. He gained strokes putting at the Players, and the heritage was weird for him. Like he broke even with the field off the tee and gained marginally on approach. We need to get Connors back to this level here. And I'm going to open up Genesis as well, because we've seen so many crossover winners, just in case we forget what happened there that year. I mentioned Luke List at Quail Hollow. He was second at Riviera this year. Hideki ended up winning. He's had some nice run at Quail Hollow, be it in the Wells Fargo or at the PGA Championship. Justin Thomas is another one. We've never really seen Cantlay play all that well at Wells Fargo, which I thought was somewhat surprising. I think him and Burns are the two. Let's see, he had a T21 and a miscut PGA Championship in 2018. He was T20, or 2017, he was T33. So nothing much coming from him on that front. He's just one that really pops to mind. We saw Harris English third at Wells Fargo a year ago, seventh at Riviera this year. Maybe this is the spot for old Hoagie. That would actually have to tell you that Tom Hoagie is in the field. Let's see. Is Hoagie in the field? He is in the field this week. I think he rallied to make the cut. I didn't play him this week. I do think Colonial is going to be the spot for him, but knowing my luck, he's not going to play in that tournament. So I might have to back him here at super long odds. Let's see what else happened at Riv this year. Hadwin was up there, but I don't believe he's in the field. Zal, I mean, if the back injury isn't actually a problem for him, I know it caused him to withdraw this week. He is a great look at this tournament. I know he does have the one career win, but this would be a nice step up for him. Cam Young as well. I mean, you have to put him on the radar. He's played really well at Riv over the years. You can see he had a 16th this year, despite a very shaky first round where he broke even, or he was one over. And then he was second there another one of the years. I have no idea. I mean, I'm going to get suckered into Cam Young either way. If he's over 30-1, I'm probably going to bet him. Although, and when I do the guess the odds, he might not be in terms of the odds. Coming off a bad week at Heritage, maybe that will be somewhat instructive for us, that maybe he won't end up being very high up on. No, he was second here 2 years ago, so now he's going to be second and 59th a year ago. So, and 2022 was niet at that. So that's something to keep in mind. Avondale? Is that what it was called? Let's see here. Let's just click on it and find out. Avenel Farms, TPC Potomac. So when you go back and do your research, remember that this was not Quail Hollow that year. And apparently Anirban Lahiri was still on the PGA Tour at that point. So who else finished very highly at the Genesis? Svensson was inside the top 5 of the first round a year ago. Don't really recall what he's been up to. I feel like he has 1 or 2 good rounds in him at tournament these days, and then he does absolutely nothing. The driving has been atrocious. The iron game had been very good until the Heritage, strangely enough, and the putter actually came back to life just a little bit. And he played very well across the board tee to green, though, at the Genesis Invitational at Riviera this year. So even back to last year, Ricky played pretty well. Thomas played pretty well. Let's go back and take a look. As I mentioned, 2022, Homa won, but that is not where he got his victory. Homa did win at this course in 2019, mind you. Rory has won at this course 3 times in his career, coming off a win at the Zurich as well. So you got Rory, Victor, Woodland, and Woodland actually has some pretty decent results here. Xander, a second and a T14 the last time that they've played these. He's been swimming around that victory for a while now. It feels like when the levee breaks, he's going to end up winning 2 or 3 tournaments over a 2-month stretch. Just he has to get over that hump first. A lot of guys played really poorly at Heritage who had been coming in with pretty decent form. And see, it was Houston where Woodland actually performed very well, but that's been sort of an outlier for the course of the rest of his season because he's just been dropping -4 on the green, -3 on the green, -6 on the green. He finally had a good approach week, and then that never materialized again. So he had like 2 good weeks. He had a decent week with his irons, then a fantastic week with his irons. I believe that was the best of his career. It's the 3rd best of his career. It's funny that the 2023 Genesis Invitational was actually the best approach week of his career at +9.7, but +8.8 was the best that Woodland was going to do, but that was really it for him. We can see Brian Harmon, who did pick up a win in this tournament in 2017 when it was not played at this course. It was played at Eagles Point. Did have a top 20 here. Poston, T26. Fleetwood has a 5th and 14th the past 2 turns at this venue. I mean, technically, this would be his breakthrough win if he was ever going to get one. And how did he play? He played pretty well at Augusta, if I recall. He was 3rd at the Masters, 7th at Valero. Didn't do much of anything at Heritage. He was 10th at Genesis earlier this year. Maybe it is Tommy time. Probably not going to be Tommy time, but maybe it could be Tommy time. Probably a very easy way to talk yourself into it if that's the route that you wanted to go. Max Homa won in 2019. How has Homa been doing? Obviously, he was in the final He was in the final groupings of Augusta, ended up coming in third. Terrible the next week at the Heritage. He's been playing some decent golf. A lot of it was fueled by the putter, but maybe this is a time where we can go back to him. He came in with almost zero form into Riv earlier this year and ended up coming T16. And even to go back and look at some of these winners, like Rory came in with no form entering play in 2021. He'd come in with consecutive missed cuts and no standout round, but he was good. In each of the top 8 finishers that year gained at least 1.7 strokes with their putter. 5 of them gained at least 1.3 strokes. When Homa came in, when he beat Damon by 3 that year, he had no form coming in, 3 straight finishes outside the top 40. So he comes in with a little bit more. It doesn't really make that much of a difference if you come in with form historically at this course, at least, or at this tournament, or not. So I think that's pretty interesting to look at when we think about the history of the course. Using fantasynational.com, once again, fantasynational.com/Mayo. Hit the description if you want to go sign up now. Wednesday, if you do it on Wednesday and get the 7-day weekly, you will get both this tournament and the PGA Championship. We've got a ton of great content coming up for you. Or if you do it, the monthly will probably bring you through the U.S. Open, or at least get you to U.S. Open week using code Mayo on the monthly, getting 20% off with the /Mayo at the end of everything. So let's take a look at the short term right now. In terms of strokes gained coming in, we talked about a full tee to green game. So a full tee to green over the past 24 rounds, Hideki is number 1, Ludwig number 2, Xander, Eckroat, Finau, Kirk, Bhatia, Justin Thomas, Windy C. Then you got Shane Lowry, Corey Connors, Rory, Glover, and Theegala. This would be a really standout win for Theegala. Bhatia as well. I mean, they have wins on the PGA Tour. Bhatia actually has 2 right now. But Theegala's just playing fantastic golf. He's top 10 or bust, it does seem. How has he done here? He's T56 last year, figured out the greens, figured out the approaches, couldn't drive and couldn't chip. But you can see the driving has been immaculate. It wasn't at a less than driver course at the Heritage, but at all the big driver courses, he has been playing fantastically so far this season. I do want to take a quick look at Farmers as well, because I had mentioned along with Riv, that is one who are guys who popped up there. There's Knapp, there's Lashley. Lashley, weirdly enough, has actually had some decent run at Wells Fargo. It was at least once he's had a decent run at Wells Fargo. That was last year, and he had a terrible final round, I believe, to take him completely out of contention. But he was T27, where is old nasty Nate. Lashley, not that I want to play Lashley. Yeah, he was 75 in the final round. Yeah, 68, 66. I remember him being up at near the top of the leaderboard and then going away. It's funny that he was able to cross back over, but in this past 3 years at this course, past 3 turns at this course, an immaculate amount of strokes gained on approach, which is frankly shocking. I don't believe he is in the field, though, so it's probably not worth your time going to look at him. Jaeger and Finau both inside the top 6. You obviously have Ludwig inside the top 10. Patrick Rogers probably finds himself in this tournament as well. Inside the top 10, you have Homa and Hideki. Taylor Montgomery withdrew this week. I don't believe he's in the field, but you see Bhatia up there too. Willie Z, top 15. We know that he's had fantastic run at Torrey Pines over the course of his career. He lost in that playoff to Luke List, who, once again, is a name that continues to pop up. I don't know if I really want to backlist because he screwed me so awfully with a push and win a round 1 matchup with Bo Hosser because he actually finished 15th for the day in putting, which you just don't expect to happen for him. Willie Z has played in the Wells Fargo Championship once. That was in 2021 at this course and missed the cut. Wasn't good, but he's a bit of a better player now. Did not play well at Heritage, but all of the long, difficult courses that they've played so far this season, Willie Z has been good. 13th at Farmers, 2nd at Riv, 4th at API, and 9th at the Masters. The shorter, easier courses, I guess the one outlier to that was Houston, and he lost 7 strokes putting that week, gained 3.1 tee to green. So that would be the one longer, harder course where he did not play well. The shorter courses that we've seen so far on tour, he's been terrible. Missed the cut at Sony, it was 34th at Amex, 44th at Heritage, missed the cut at the Players. Not his jam. You want long, you want tough. That's what we're getting this week. Potentially, we got long. We'll see if the tough part actually comes through with Will Zalatoris. But I mean, he's someone you're probably gonna want to back this week, and hopefully his back can hold up to the scrutiny of what's going on. Let's shrink down this sample a little bit more and go to past 12 rounds tee to green. Obviously, these will update after the conclusion of the Byron Nelson to see if a few more guys either qualify for this field or played in this field, and we'll get the update. So past 12 rounds, Hideki, Bhatia, Ludwig, Siwoo, Lowry are the top 5 tee to green. Windy C, Glover, Kirk, Xander, and Kitayama actually comes in. That has to be all ball striking. Has to be. Oh, no, it was actually full. I mean, outside of Heritage, it was all ball striking. Has he played? He must have played here last year. Missed the cut a year ago. Was good at Avenel Farms, but that is not really all that we care about. But he's another one who's played well at like longer, more difficult courses in the past, but his chipping is just so bad. But the driving and approach has been high quality. If you can ever find the putter, then maybe we could be onto something with him this week. Taylor Moore is another one that I would take a look at. 16th tee to green, has played Riv pretty well. I think he's played here all right as well. Thigala, Henley, Rory. I mean, this might be the place where Rory actually just kind of gets it all going back together. Where's Taylor Moore? Taylor Moore, 58th at Heritage. That ain't no good. And when you lose 6 strokes putting and 5 strokes on approach, that's going to happen to you. 20th at the Masters, 2nd in Houston, 12th at Valspar. You know, it's been off and on between putting and approach, but he has the makings of putting it all together tee to green wise. Again, maybe not an outright win type of thing. If he breaches triple digits, we have seen Derek Ernst here win. I think Roberto Castro won here as well. James Hahn won at a huge number one year. So it's not the craziest thing. I mean, hell, Wyndham Clark won at 80-1 at this course last year. So long shots have been very much in play at this venue over the years. So maybe he is the one that you could go look at from way down the list. I mean, Thigala is not going to be way down the list, but if you get him above 30, maybe that's a good shout as well. So Kitayama, Taylor Moore, Bhatia would probably be the ones to look at from way down the list. I think Glover won here, but it was like a while ago, like a long time ago, back when, you know, did he win the U.S. Open here? He did win the U.S. Open here. That's exactly the one that he won. U.S. Open Championship in 2009. No, that wasn't it. He won at Bethpage. Where else has he won in his career? He won at Wyndham. He won at St. Jude last year. Trying to think of all the other places where he's won. He won the Wells Fargo in 2011 at this course. That's what I was thinking of. But he won at Bethpage in 2019. John Deere in 2021. Totally forgot about that one. Maybe. I mean, he's been lingering around tee to green, so it wouldn't be crazy. He did win twice last year and almost made the Ryder Cup team, so it wouldn't be inconceivable that would happen for him. But either way, I probably wouldn't be going there in case he just really fires up the putter. Ludwig and Bhatia as like the breakthrough guys that we're talking about, or Thigala or Cam Young. Maybe just make a card of those 4 guys, and hopefully it works out. And the trend that we see like almost every other year continues, where this becomes the big boy breakout spot for a lot of players. When we think about the overall modeling, let's see what I got going on for Quail Hollow here. Quail Hollow, total driving. Quail Hollow needs fixing. Oh, that's not good. Let's turn that on. We'll reload the page so we can have that instead of our strokes gain model, and just see if there's some other names that comes up. I wonder why I need to fix this. That's interesting. Let's see what we got in here. Off the tee, 20%, approach 20%, around the green, 10%. Okay, that's fine to look at. Approach 175 to 200 at 5%, 200 plus. Driving distance 10%, par 5s 10%, 450 to 500 10%, and putting 5%. All right, so let's try to figure this out a little bit, because we've overweighted driving off the tee at 20% and driving distance at 10%. I do like that 66% off the tee, 33% driving distance if we're just going to put in driving, 20% for approach, but we have 2 proximity numbers as well. I want to get rid of putting, and I want to put in 5 to 10 and 10 to 15 putting, because I think that just tends to be a bit more sticky than just overall strokes gained putting. So we'll go 5 to 10%, and we'll go 10 to 15% as well. 10 to 15 feet, sorry. And we'll weight those both at 5%. Get those up to 5%. Dial back on 450 to 500 a little bit. Get rid of strokes gained par 5s just in general. And we're going to put in par 3s over 200 to 225 yards. See if that helps us out a little bit. That, again, can be somewhat of an approach stat as well. So we're going to go and get rid of needs fixing. We fixed it. Quail hollow, all caps, to show that we're serious this time around. And we'll update the model and see what that tells us over the past 24 rounds. Spelled quail wrong as well. That's always fun. Always good news. Neck and lap. Worst guy in the field. Ludwig, the best guy in the field. That's what happens when you take out Scotty Scheffler. That's always good to know. Rory, Xander, Finau, Clark, Akshay, Matsuyama, Theegala. Victor is still up there, shockingly enough. Siwoo comes in at number 10. Then you got Connor Spieth. There's Kitayama again. Fitzpatrick, Jagger, Hoagie at 16. Kirk, Horschel, and Lucas Glover, number 20. Thomas, Cam Young. What's hurting Cam Young? The around the green is terrible. The proximity from 200 yards is terrible over the past. And this doesn't include master stats because we don't have those. Your best players from beyond 200 yards, Xander, Finau, Ludwig, Fitzpatrick, and Connors. Then Hoagie, Glover, Bhatia. Bhatia checks a lot of these boxes. Terrible at putting, but maybe, he's from the area. He's from North Carolina. Maybe he's got these greens figured out. Maybe he's got them in his back pocket. Who knows what's going on with him? Let's shrink down the size and take a look at past 12 rounds now to see if anyone does stick out a little bit more. And it's still Ludwig, number 1, even over the past 12. So it's Ludwig, Akshay, Hideki, Clark, Finau. Those are the top 5. Xander, Rory, Siwoo, Theegala, Shank all of a sudden propels himself up. I'm guessing that he'll end up looking pretty good after the Byron Nelson. He's not exactly in the mix in terms of trying to win this tournament as we come down the stretch, but he is having a pretty decent week. He finishes, he's T21 going into the final round. 12 under, finished, he could have had a better day on Sunday. Could have used a better day out of old Adam Shank, who I did bet on this week. He's -3. I don't think that he's going to end up winning the tournament, but, sometimes you don't win. That just happens. I think that if you're watching the show and if you bet on golf, you probably know that as well. Let's see, Xander, Rory, Siwoo, any other new names that pop up? Kitayama remains up there at 12. Justin Thomas is still 16. Fleetwood is 18. Bez, there's Taylor Moore. He's number 24. Glover is 15. So it's a lot of the similar names that continue to pop up over here. Before we start talking about the Myrtle Beach Classic, we got to guess the odds. For Quail Hollow, no Scotty in the field really opens this up for everyone. When you don't have a guy who's plus 250 to win a golf tournament of 68 players, then I would guess that Rory, coming off a win and being a 3-time champion at Quail Hollow, is gonna be the favorite for this week. I have him at 9-1. I have Xander Schauffele, who was second a year ago, playing some good golf, coming in at 10-1. Those two as the favorites. And I have one tier down. I have Ludwig at 14, Wyndham Clark at 18, which is a pretty good number to be perfect. If he's 18, I might bet that. And Patrick Cantlay at 18-1. Worth noting, no one has ever repeated as champion at Quail Hollow, but Wyndham Clark just has a knack for these signature events, and he has won here before and has the skill set in playing great golf coming in. So those are the two highest, then the next tier down. After that, I have another group of 3. Homa, Victor, both 22-1. Hideki, 25-1. Now that I think about it, Hideki's probably 22-1. Victor is probably in the next tier down with Fitzpatrick, Morikawa, Spieth, and Cam Young. I have those guys in the 28 to 33 range. They might all get compacted down to sub 30-1. Spieth has no business being in this range, but he just continues to exist in this range. So just because, it's more reason just to not bet on Jordan Spieth if he's going to be 25 to 30-1, because he is not showing any glimpses of being in that region whatsoever with his play over the past few months. The next level down, I have Theegala, Fleetwood, and Thomas, anywhere between 33 and 40-1. Maybe Finau ends up jumping into there, but Justin Thomas, like Jordan Spieth, ends up being overvalued in the market just a little bit. Let's talk about the Myrtle Beach Classic. The MBC is being contested at the Dunes Golf and Beach Club, 7,347 yards, a par 71, a field of 132 players, but that is not yet finalized because we have a lot of players in this field, like Seabass and Billy Horschel are both listed in both fields. I believe that they have qualified once we finish up at Byron Nelson through the Aon 5 swing, the guys that have qualified for the next signature event. I believe that they're both going going to be in it. This course opened in 1948 with the Robert Trent Jones Sonor layout. It was only the second course on the Strand. The Dunes Golf and Beach Club has been at or near the top of every Myrtle Beach golf course list throughout the years. The Dunes has hosted the U.S. Women's Open, the finals of the PGA Tour Q School, and 6 senior PGA championships. Although it's located barely a block from the beach, and with most of the holes subject to the ocean breeze, the style of course isn't seaside or links, as you can see. It has a woodland, parkland, and marshland element to it, with the 9th being the only hole on the course where the player catches the glimpse of the Atlantic Ocean, which is crazy considering its proximity and wind effect from the ocean. Strange that they would design it that way, but here we are. And listen, it's highly rated, so I guess they're doing something right. Most of the green complexes are elevated and extremely challenging as a result of large and deep Augusta white sand bunkers surrounding these elevated putting surfaces. Other Robert Trent Jones trademarks are the runway tee boxes and generous dose of strategic fairway bunkering requiring well-placed tee shots. So I have no idea if this course is going to play easy or hard. 7,300 yards is a par 71. Doesn't sound daunting, but people who've played this course said it can be difficult. I guess it all really depends on the setup. Holes 11 through 13 are called Alligator Alley. Number 11 features a dramatic approach to the green that is protected by 2 bunkers and bordered by the Singleton Swash on the right. Don't go right. The 12th is a par 3 that features a do-or-die carry over the swash, while the par 5 13th is known as Waterloo. It is Myrtle Beach's most famous challenge. It is a 90-degree dogleg right. Curious to see, with the distance that you guys have off the tee and where they set up that tee box, how much of the corner they can actually try to take on, or whether or not they will have to lay up to the actual dogleg part of the hole without actually firing at the green. Robert Trent Jones' son, Reese Jones, redesigned this in 2003, 2013, and 2018. In 2013, the club successfully converted all greens from A1 bent grass to ultra dwarf championship Bermuda surfaces and offer the championship tees. The championship course now measures, it can play up to 7,450 yards, but it doesn't necessarily do that. The scorecard this week is not saying that it's going to be doing that. In the summer of 2018, Reese Jones undertook a complete restoration of all the bunkers on the golf course to reclaim that historic element that his dad had put in place. All the bunkers were rebuilt with new drainage, liners, and sand. They're large, undulating, and have multiple pinnable areas. These are the greens that I'm talking about that can dramatically affect the strategy and difficulty of the hole. Pay attention to where the flag is on the approach, because there are consequences to missing in the wrong spot. Basically, as it's been described to me and seeing the flyover the course as you just did, basically says that you can make easy pars at this course, but if you're going to get aggressive and you miss, you start to bring some very crooked numbers into play. So that's what we're seeing with the Senior PGA Championship, with Q School, how they have this design for the top. Listen, obviously this isn't a signature event. It is not the strongest field the PGA Tour has to offer, but these are fantastic, high level in the world players. So I think they could probably kind of go hog wild on this. I am genuinely curious and interested to see how difficult this course plays, so we'll have a better sense of how this looks in the future. If we just take a look, I have the Quail Hollow model rated into now. As I mentioned, it's 132 players, top 65, and ties make it. I'm not going to make an overall new thing for this in terms of modeling, but what I will look at is just strokes gained total over the past. Recent form, looking into it. Horschel's been the best player, but he's going to qualify for Quail Hollow. So outside of that, you have Justin Lauer, Kevin Tway. Is it going to be Tway Day? Who knows? Maybe he storms the board Sunday at Craig Ranch, but he has some pretty good results. Obviously, we don't know what's going on at Byron Nelson, but he enters inside the top 10 going into the final round. He was 3rd in Puerto Rico, so that's looking pretty good. Chan Kim missed the cut this week, so he will obviously drop. Ryan Moore-Seabez probably playing at Quail Hollow. So Davis Thompson, Ben Griffin, Matty Schmidt, Mav McNeely. These are all the type of guys. S.H. Kim, McClure Messenger, Evan Hammerling, Vic Perez, Reevy, Stevens. Maybe this could be a Stevens course. They lengthened it a little bit. We know he has a proclivity for courses that are over 7,400 yards. So that's over the past 12 rounds. If we just take a look at tee to green, of those guys. It's Ryan Moore, Kevin Yu. Maybe Kevin Yu flop lag week. He missed the cut on the number, didn't play all that poorly, couldn't make a putt to save his life, but maybe we get him going here. Kelly Craft, obviously playing good golf. He might actually qualify for Quail Hollow if he has the top 5 finish. Between Zurich and Quail Hollow, maybe he ends up getting in. But Ryan Moore, Kevin Yu, Joel Damon are your top 3 in strokes gained, tee to green coming in. If my guy Lonto missed the cut on the number as well, and the ball striking continued to be great. Can't chip, can't putt. 9th tee to green over the past, 12 rounds, and it's going to only improve after this week against these jabronis. And then 4th in ball striking, 111th in the field around the green, 123rd in putting. Will that take you out of this tournament? Probably. But if he just has some luck in those areas, he could be pretty deadly at this course. Overall, ball striking, Kevin Yu, Damon, Ryan Moore, Lonto, Kelly Craft are your top 5. Ben Martin having another good week. Maybe it's another look for him. Oh, Novak is here as well, and he's having a fantastic week at Byron Nelson. But Chan Kim, Ben Martin, Novak, Berger, and Kevin Doherty round out the top 10 in terms of ball striking. The only guys that can somewhat putt in that mix are Ben Martin. He's inside the top 30. Kelly Craft can kind of putt. The other guys all outside the top 100 in this field on the greens over the past 12. You'd think that Berger would be better, but he just ain't at the moment. Ryan Moore and Chan Kim are the only ones decent around the green, and Novak is just worse than field average around the green. Again, all the other guys are outside the top 40. Ball striking wise, Mav McNeely is actually the one who rates out the best kind of across the board. He's 6th tee to green, but he has no glaring deficiencies anywhere at the moment. Toasty tried to rally back to make the cut, but just couldn't do it in McKinney, Texas, and maybe he can get going as well. Other guys you see up here, Norlander having a good week. He was 6,500 on DraftKings this week. Maybe he is a look towards the back end. CT Pan withdrew with an injury, so I don't know whether or not he's going to end up staying in this field, so keep an eye out for him. Alex Smalley having another good week as well. Had a good week at Puerto Rico, having a good week at CJ Cup. Did not have a good week at the team tournament, but those are 2 weak field events like we're seeing this time around that maybe he can start to put something together. I keep saying Puerto Rico. I apologize. It was the Corrales and Punta Cana in Dominican Republic. Sometimes all these alt events mixed together in my mind. Obviously, this one is going to be a little bit different than the one in Puerto Rico and the one on Dominican Republic. Those are Paspalum greens. These are not. You have the coastal influence, although you do seem to have that this week as well. Since we don't exactly know who's going to be finalized in this tournament, I'm not going to guess the odds. Not that you probably care, but some of those names that I just talked about are the ones that I'm probably going to be looking to try to play some doubles with at the top, or even just independently try to outright bet on. If DraftKings releases a really nice tournament for Myrtle Beach, I'll play that. Hopefully Underdog gets in the pick'em game, and then we got a stew going. Maybe we can really try to deep dive in and figure out which of our players are going to be the ones to look at. If anyone has a general sense of how this tournament could play, it's almost like the fairway look that we're getting, fairways higher or lower for Quail Hollow. Maybe there's an angle that we can tackle on Underdog for the Myrtle Beach Classic as well. The MBC. That is the research show for this week. 2 tournaments for the price of 1. Try to keep it snappy for you as well. Trying to get everything done in less than an hour. Once again, you can subscribe to fantasynational.com/Mayo to get yourself 20% off. Get the weekly membership on Wednesday. You can get both these tournaments and the PGA Championship for the price of 1. 3 tournaments for the price of 1 at fantasynational.com/Mayo. Code Mayo at Underdog Fantasy will get you a deposit match of up to $100. Deposit 100. Have an extra 100, total 200. You're already a winner. And there's nothing you can do to support the show more than using code Mayo for your deposit at Underdog Fantasy. Link is in the description. More of a deep dive will be coming in Monday's newsletter and Wednesday's newsletter, all completely free. Please subscribe down in the description or on Substack under Mayo Media Newsletter. All right, smash like, sub to the channel, leave a rating and review on the podcast. Well, you are here. We'll see you next time.
Mayo experience! Experience!